Good evening, Vacaville. The time is now 6 o'clock, February 3rd, 2021. I'd like to call to order Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Vacaville meeting. We appreciate everyone who is participating in tonight's Park and Recreation teleconference meeting. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20. Please bear with us as we attempt to use remote tools. Instructions to call into the meeting or participate from a computer are provided on the agenda on the city's website at www.cityofvacaville.com. Callers who wish to comment can press *9 to get into the speaking queue. Computer users can click the raise hand button within their Zoom controls to request to speak. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Present.
Commissioner Leonard.
Here.
Commissioner Lujan. Commissioner Thompson.
I am present.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Oh, here. Sorry.
Okay. Vice Chair Rucker
I'm here.
and Chair McMahon.
Present.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leonard, would you please lead us in the pledge this evening, ma'am?
I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections or changes to this evening's agenda? Seeing none, I will accept a motion, please.
This is Commissioner Thompson. I move approval.
And a second.
This is Commissioner Leonard. I second.
Thompson and Leonard, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker.
Aye.
Chair McMahon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Agenda item 4, approval of the minutes. The approval of the minutes for the meeting of January 6, 2021. Any corrections or changes to that meeting? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion, please.
This is Commissioner Vasquez. Motion to approve.
And a second.
Is Commissioner Baruman to second?
Vasquez and Bruman, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Baruman.
Aye.
Commissioner Leonard.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rucker
Aye.
and Chair McMahon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, communications. Now is the time to introduce any written correspondence received prior to this evening's meeting. Do we have any correspondence for this evening's meeting, ma'am?
Chair McMahon, we do not.
Thank you very much, Director Walker. Agenda item number 6, reports of the Park Manager, David Jacobson.
Good evening, Commissioner Chair and Commissioners. For the month of January, Public Works, in addition to our routine maintenance, renovated Field K2 at Kading Park. The infield grass turf was replaced and the irrigation system was upgraded. And then also we did our annual survey of all the lighting for all of the ball fields throughout the city and had those repairs made and completed in the month of January as well. And that concludes my report. I can take any questions.
Thank you very much for that, sir. Are there any questions or comments for our Park Manager from the Commission? Seeing no hands, I would like to close comment from the Commission, and I will open up to the public for this. Is there any callers from the public that would like to address anything for our parks manager? And I see one hand from the public. Tracy, if you could open their mic, please.
Sure. Ian, I will open your mic.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit my finger on the phone. Disregard. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we will close public comment. Thank you very much. David, welcome back. We're glad to have you. Thank you much. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 7, presentations. Tonight, we are fortunate to have our park ranger, Justin Salvo, Lagoon Valley Park Patrol. Sir, welcome, and we look forward to your presentation.
Yes, Chair McMahon?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am.
This is Director Walker. Just a short intro. In recent meetings, commissioners have expressed interest in having the Parks Ranger come and be introduced and present on his work in our parks. So I want to welcome and introduce to you tonight for the first time, our Park Ranger, Justin Salvo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Salvo. I'm the Park Ranger for the city. A little bit about me. I graduated from the Federal Park Ranger Academy in Santa Rosa in 2018. I then went on to 2 seasons for Marin County Parks as a park ranger assistant. I've also had EMT training and fire suppression courses. I'm also a member of the Park Ranger Association of California to further my skills as a park ranger. And next slide. Here we have a map of Lagoon Valley. We have some of the playground equipment and our picnic area. Next slide. This is the Lagoon Valley Electric Flyers Club. I do patrol over there regularly. Here's a picture of our archery range and a picture of the dog park. Next slide. Here's some issues that I find at Lagoon Valley. This is the Lagoon Valley North Pass Trail sign. We have graffiti. I forward that to Public Works. Next picture is some of the trash that I find in the mornings. I do forward that to Public Works as well. The next photo is a picture of some signs that were stolen. So there's 2 handicap signs as well as a 10-minute parking sign. And I forward that to Public Works as well. And next slide. Park Patrol. This is the pay machine that I service regularly. It's $5 a day. We have 2 of them. There's one at the main entrance and at the main parking lot. Next picture is some of the illegal parking that I deal with. This is a regular occurrence. This is outside the exit gate. And the next photo is a drone that I use to patrol the open space areas that I can't get to. Next slide. This is a illegal event that was planned at the park. I forwarded this to police department, and you can just see how overloaded of cars it was and trash after. And I do follow the car clubs to make sure that they adhere to the rules of the park. And next slide. And Park Patrol. This is the LNU fire. I was here making sure everything was all right and park clear of visitors. The next slide is a barbecue. Oh, sorry. Next photo is a barbecue accident. Someone dumped the coals in the lagoon and it was way too dry and it caught fire. So I put that out and I called fire department. The next picture is a irrigation accident or irrigation emergency. That was a Saturday, so I had to zip tie it shut and do a work order for Public Works. Next slide. Here's some park inhabitants. These goats were getting moved to different fields. They didn't go in the park, but it was just a great photo. Here, the next photo is some deer that were on one of our trails. And we do have, the next photo is, we do have some two coyotes that roam the park that I'm always looking out for. And next slide. I do patrol Pina Adobe. This would be on a daily right after I go through the park, Lagoon Valley. This is the picnic area, the Adobe, and a volunteer. And next slide. I do patrol the Hume Grove. That's part of the Lagoon Valley Trails. There's the redwoods and the sign. I did find recently a homeless encampment that was right by the Hume Grove, and I did forward that to the police department. And next slide. I'm at Lagoon Valley around 95% of the time, but when I do patrol the Centennial Park. This was some garbage that was dumped, and I did forward that to Public Works. I do patrol El Patch Park. This was a person who parked on the field. So I approached the park goer, and I just explained the rules park. And I do patrol the open space areas when I can. This was graffiti at Browns Valley area. And next slide. I do work with a few agencies. I work with the Animal Control, Humane Animal Services. That's on a weekly basis. I work with them. The Vacaville PD. Fish and Game for coyotes and mountain lions and issues like that, as well as the Solano County. And next slide. Any questions?
Justin, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate what you do out there and the presentation. I will now open up for questions or comments from the commission. Any questions for our park ranger, Justin? Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, good evening, Justin. Thank you so much for this presentation. This is Commissioner Vasquez. I just had a quick question. In your presentation, you mentioned the use of a drone and that you're using a drone to patrol open spaces. And I just wanted to ask, do we disclose that anywhere in the park that we're patrolling using a drone? And I guess, are we required to disclose that to the public? I know I was going out there during the summer. I haven't been out there recently, but I don't remember seeing signage about a drone. Just a question on that.
Yes, we do have at the main entrance of Lagoon a camera sign.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Rutger.
All right, thank you, Justin. This is Vice Chair Rucker. More of a comment which maybe you're already aware of. I think it's over in Hume Grove. There was
Vice Chair Rucker,
me and my family were out there walking a couple weeks ago. We noticed that one of the walkways, I think towards the top, and seemed like it could be a little bit of a hazard. Hello?
Vice
Can
Chair, are
anybody-
you there, sir?
Yeah, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. It was sounded like you're having some sort of difficulties, but we got you loud and clear now, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Sorry, full disclosure, my internet went out literally right before this, so I'm on my phone, so we'll see. Anyway, Justin, I'll ask quick. Yeah, in Hume Grove, there was a pathway up towards the top where like the wood pathway was broken, like right in the middle, seemed like could be a hazard for anybody that maybe was stepping through. Just curious, were you aware of that? And if so, is there something we could do to fix it?
No, I wasn't aware of that, but I will make a note of that.
Okay, I took some pictures, so I can actually send them over to you. I have your email address right here.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'll send them over to you. And funny enough, right before I jumped on this call, my 4-year-old actually reminded me to ask because we saw it, and she said, "Are you going to ask them about that hole in the wood?" And I was like, yeah, I guess I can. This would be perfect time." So anyway, that's really for her.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any further questions or comments from the commission for our park ranger? Seeing none, I will close commissioner comments. Justin, thank you again so much, sir. We appreciate you and everything you do out there, and welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you.
Chair,
Moving on. Yes, ma'am.
we did have a hand raised from the public.
I apologize. I did not see that. Justin, are you still there, sir?
I am here.
All right, we'll open up for public comment for our park ranger. Go ahead and open their mic, Tracy, please.
Okay. Ian?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about earlier. It's really saddening to hear about all the littering and disregard for the environment that's happening. Is there enough like staff to like go against all these things? Like, is there enough like funding for employment for park staff to maintain and secure like pollution or littering? That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ian. Justin, would you like to address that, sir? What are we doing to better that situation? I did notice that, why is there trash there? Is there not enough trash receptacles, or how can we resolve that situation, Justin?
Yes, so those photos were actually after a car show, illegal car show. So it was just a overload of the park, and all of the trash cans were overflowed, and it just started to back up.
Justin, would it help during, let's say, our summer months, or the months that maybe we have more events out there, and once we get back to whatever normal is, would more trash receptacles help out there? Is that a solution to that?
Yes, maybe actually another dumpster.
Okay, perhaps that's something we can look into, and just so we don't have trash sitting on the ground, let's put it where it belongs, and that way everybody can enjoy the beauty of that park out there.
Definitely, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I can, Chair McMahon.
Yes, sir. Who is speaking? Is that you, Reggie? Go ahead, sir.
This is Reggie. Yes. As Justin explained, that particular car show was not planned. Typically, if we have something that's planned, we'll work with Public Works to get additional dumpsters and toters out there. So on a typical event, we wouldn't have that issue. But since that event was not planned and did not go through the proper protocols, there were not enough trash receptacles out there. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
I appreciate that, Reggie. That's encouraging, and that sounds like you guys are well ahead of it. So thank you very much for that, sir. Tracy, are there any other callers from the public?
I think Ian raised his hand again. Well,
Hi, Ian. Do you still have your hand up, sir, from the last question?
Yes, just because I grew more insight on the valued adjustments for the issues. So I'm sorry to take up more time. I just want to add real quick, like perhaps if more permanent or frequent trash receptacles and recycling receptacles were in place. I mean, even in Japan, it increases incentive in people to throw things away properly or dispose of their trash or recyclables necessarily, you know? So it is nice to have things like that, and perhaps more employment to ensure or secure what wildlife and environmental safeties from becoming hazards, such as a gender reveal resulting in a wildfire, for example. That's all. Just I feel like more staffing in Parks and Wildlife could play a very essential and nice role in how we pay our taxes and encouraging.
I appreciate your comments, Ian, and your
nature. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that. Your comments are noted and valid. Thank you so much for that. Tracy, are there any other callers from the public, ma'am?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick question to sort of piggyback off what Ian was saying. Do you guys have like a regular staff that is dedicated to like trail maintenance and that sort of thing, making sure that the park is safe and well inhabitable for all the people who go to visit? Because personally, like it's one of my favorite areas to go to hike in town, and I want to make sure that we do have jobs to maintain this area because it's, like I said, one of the most beautiful areas that we have.
Absolutely. I appreciate that very much. Justin, would you like to address that, or someone from the staff, would you like to address the question from the caller, please?
This is Reggie again.
Yes, sir.
I don't think Justin probably would be able to answer the trail maintenance issue, and that would be probably a better question answered by our park planner, Hugh Hesterman, and I'm not sure. I know Hugh's on the line. Do you want to give a little more insight into the trail maintenance, Hugh? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sure, this is Hugh. No, we don't maintain any of the trails. We don't have a system, I should say, for maintaining the trails in the open space areas. That's outside of the defined park areas. We do have a cadre of volunteers that put a lot of hard work into cleaning up the trails and repairing damage. Occasionally there will be a major piece of damage that Public Works might jump in and get in there to repair. But basically, that is something that the public has indicated they would like to see more of through our surveys. And we are evaluating how we might be able to put some sort of formal trail maintenance program into place.
Thank you very much for that, sir. I appreciate that. Madam Secretary, any other callers from the public regarding questions for our park ranger?
I see none, Chair.
Thank you so much. We will close public comment. And Justin, once again, thank you so much for what you do. If there's anything we can do to help, please let us know, and stay safe out there, sir.
Thank you.
We are now at item number 8, business from the floor. This is the time to address the commission with issues that are not on the agenda that are within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. And Madam Secretary, anyone from the public for business from the floor this evening?
Apologies, I had myself on mute. Ian, I will open your mic.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is the third time I'm speaking today. Just from my perspective, I could see this department receiving much more funds if we implement more strategic and progressive stances on how we uphold and maintain our wildlife and natural paths in creating environmentalist trail building. I'm sorry, and other conservative efforts. And I feel, especially with the recent climate change that's occurred, we've seen with the LNU fires, that's something very critical to helping our community and city in the long run. And once again, I'm sorry, Park Ranger, that you try to notify Vacaville Police Department about the upcoming issue that resulted in major waste and littering in the parks, and their negligence to do anything about that. I'm sorry about that.
Ian, thank you very much for your comments, sir. I appreciate it. Any further public comments from the public, Madam Secretary?
No other hands, Chair.
Okay, we will close public comment. Thank you very much. Agenda item 9 is business. We have 2 items this evening. Director Walker, if you would like to introduce item 9A, please, ma'am.
Absolutely. During a number of commission meetings, Recreation Manager Melody Ocampo has provided updates on the status of the statewide park development and community revitalization program grant. The updates thus far have focused on Trower Park. Tonight's presentation will cover the entire Brown Markham Neighborhood Public Improvements Plan. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Melody, who will kick off the presentation.
Thank you, Director Walker. Good evening, Commission Chair and Commissioners. Tonight, I will be presenting along with my colleagues from the Community Development Department on the Brown Markham Neighborhood Public Recreation Improvements Plan. This is a strategic neighborhood action plan for recreational facility improvements in the neighborhood identified around Brown Street and Markham Avenue. So next slide, please. A little bit of history for you all. The council approved the Brown Markham Neighborhood Public Recreation Plan on October 13th, 2020. This authorized the city to pursue grant funding from the state through the statewide park program, otherwise known as SPP, that is funded out of Prop 68. This is also known as the Park Development and Community Revitalization Grant. Some of the improvements that have been identified are, as Director Walker mentioned, renovations to Trower Park, a potential new recreation site on a vacant city property located behind the county building on Monte Vista that is located on Brown Street and is referred to as the Brown Street site. And while part of the overall plan, one project that unfortunately has been determined not eligible for Prop 68 is the Rocky Hill Trail. However, there is still great desire to make improvements to that site. Next slide. So just to give you a little more background, this is one of the older neighborhoods in the city. It was developed back in the 60s and 70s, and it has a high density of apartment complexes. It also has a highly active body of residents, which I have to say I can personally attest to. They're really engaged and not only want to see improvements in their neighborhood, but want to take part in making those improvements. Next slide. The map here shows the relationship between the 3 sites. The green is Trower Park, and you see then the red is Rocky Hill Trail, and in the blue there is the Brown Street site. Staff believe that with some improvements to these sites and some future conversations and initiatives for connectivity improvements, that collectively with the community, we can make a significant improvement in this neighborhood. Next slide. So Trower Park renovation project. This is the Park and Recreation Department's baby. As previously mentioned, we are applying for the SPP funding to do some renovations to this park. Staff have hosted virtual community meetings, done tabling at the food bank giveaways at and nearby the park. We have solicited feedback at nearby farmers market, at Andrews Park, and hosted or invited local invited local organizations to participate in mini community meetings. So for some of our larger community meetings, we have gotten the word out by canvassing the neighborhood. We've done banners at Trower Park, Rocky Hill Trail, and the Brown Street site. We've posted Facebook events with posts and paid ads targeting the 1 mile radius around the park. We've mailed out postcards to residents. We have sent emails to those who have registered for and participated in previous meetings to ensure some continued engagement. We've also made take-home packets available either to pick up from our offices. We mail them out. People can also download them online. Those are for those who maybe can't make some of the various meeting times or just aren't comfortable with the virtual format that we are all unfortunately forced to use due to COVID. We are currently working with consultants from Wilson Design Studio to develop a draft conceptual plan based on the feedback that's been collected. What you saw in the staff report is just a really rough design that staff created to highlight some of the most desired amenities. But in a future slide, you're going to see a more professional design, draft design. Next slide, please. So here are some of the amenities that first kind of rose to the top, those favorite amenities. Those are the list that came from the residents, and they also include some elements that support some of the grant goals, again, supported by the residents. You also see here some of the debated amenities, things that some residents said they wanted and others disagreed. And then some desired amenities that pose challenges when it comes to implementation and aligning with park standards, along with some general comments that came out of community meetings. So a few other items that I wanted to note that have been discussed that are not listed here include murals, specifically those that really reflect the local community, some climbing equipment, performance space. Those are at some meetings have been talked about as a highly desired, but there are challenges tied to the municipal code and noise ordinances, as well as just aligning with our standards for neighborhood parks. And then as well as restrooms, I'm kind of listing that again because that is something that at a most recent community meeting, the police department was there and they were able to discuss some of the activities that restrooms can attract, and Public Works was able to share some of the costs associated with maintaining those. I just kind of wanted to note that the restrooms as well as the splash pad are italicized and outlined in green because they have a high ongoing maintenance cost, and these are some of the challenges that you and council will have to consider when it comes to approving a plan with these elements. Next slide. So this is that more professional design that I had mentioned. What you see here, again, features the top 3 amenities that community members agree should be incorporated into the park renovation. And again, those are covered picnic areas, a splash pad, and additional play spaces. Some of the additional elements that you see are supported by the community or incentivized by the grant requirements. That includes the bioswale with native plants, safety lighting, and a futsal court. And then the pictures you see below reflect the design styles that community members voted on for the various elements. And I don't know, Tracy, if you can zoom in on some of that at all. I don't know if that's possible, but it is a little bit small and difficult to see. So I just wanted to, if that's possible, to help people kind of see. Yeah, so just some of those styles, those aren't actually what, yeah, either way, so that is kind of, you can see some of those labels for the covered picnic areas, a new natural play area, kind of a splash pad on the bottom right there. But it still incorporates existing elements like the basketball court, but then laying a futsal court on top of it and doing some of the lining there that would allow for play of both sports. So people also talked about wanting some extra places to sit, so new benches along the parkway, and again, kind of getting a bioswale along some of the pathway there. So, and then Tracy, if you scroll down to some of the images below, so these are simply representations of the type of style. They aren't necessarily what we would see in the final product, but you know, we put forth a lot of different options for folks to vote on, and these were the styles that rose to the top. So next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Brown Street site. This is out of our housing department. This property at Brown Street was acquired in 2002 through a CDBG Section 108 loan to consolidate Solano County Social Services into one Vacaville location. Unfortunately, negotiations were unsuccessful. And in June 2019, council approved development of the site to include a multi-purpose city facility to house the Department of Housing Services and other community offices and shared meeting spaces. In July 2020, council approved staff negotiating exclusively with the Vacaville Neighborhood Boys and Girls Club for a potential Boys and Girls Club facility on a portion of the property. The SPP grant, if awarded, will fund the outdoor public recreation component and the community room. So that white space there, as well as kind of just below that right corner of the red outline, there's a little classroom space there above where you see the Vacaville Housing Services Department facility. So that's kind of on the upper right of that kind of teal area. So because it's a new recreation amenity and public facility in a low income and underserved park area, this could be potentially a strong application for the grant. There have been 3 community meetings on this project to date. 5 are required to be highly competitive, and the housing department is working on the grant application for submittal in March. Next slide. So switching gears to Rocky Hill Trail. This is a project, a public art project that is in the works. In May 2019, the city was awarded a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to install an art piece at the entrance to the Rocky Hill Trail. This past December, city staff hosted a community meeting with local artists selected by the Arts Advisory Committee from one of 2 submissions to the city's request for proposals. Next slide. I'm sorry, next slide. Oh, thank you. So Rocky Hill Trail public meeting number 2, it's actually technically number 3, but this is a meeting solely dedicated to Rocky Hill Trail. The first community engagement was back when we were still able to do community events, and we actually tabled at the night out at Rocky Hill Trail. And then there was quite a bit of gap in time due to COVID. We kept all thinking that it was going to have a little relief, and we had our public meeting specifically for this project back in December. The artist came out and was able to share a draft design, and she is actually going back now and redoing that design completely based on the feedback that was provided by community members. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to invite the community to our upcoming meeting on Monday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. Zoom information will be forthcoming and posted on the city website, social media, etc., and emailed out to previous residents. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Maya Amichai, planning technician from the Community Development Department.
Good evening. Next slide. So I'm going to provide a little bit of background, context, and history on the Rocky Hill Trail project and the existing Rocky Hill Trail. This slide shows pictures of, at the top it shows the youth who led the project and created the trail, and from community events that have taken place on the trail every year since its creation. That's the night out on the Rocky Hill Trail, as Melody mentioned. The Rocky Hill Trail was created out of a community-led and youth-centered initiative. The REACH Youth Coalition approached the city in 2015 about the trail area. At that time, residents, and in particular youth, used what was then an informal path on the PG&E easement to access schools, the Boys and Girls Club, Trower Park, and other places that they frequent. And you'll see later that the path is really central in the Markham neighborhood. Through the youth's work within the community and with the city, the Rocky Hill Trail was designated as a bike path in the 2015 general plan. The path was then paved in 2017 as a capital improvement project. However, it does not have amenities such as lighting or trash cans or landscaping or proper drainage. So these are all things that we are still currently working with the community on providing. Next slide, please. This slide shows the properties that make up the trail. The majority of the parcels are city-owned. The one highlighted at the north end of the trail is privately owned, but through a partnership, the trail does cross this property, and there's also a community garden on it. Both of the parcels highlighted in red have been identified as good locations for community amenities, possibly future parks, in particular that southern lot highlighted in red. And those are both the trailhead properties as well. Next slide, please. Because the current condition of the trail does not meet the needs of the community, UC students chose the Rocky Hill Trail as their senior project area for their landscape architecture course in 2019. Through their process, they created a master plan that added landscaping, lighting, benches, dog waste stations, and other amenities the community identified. They included extensive plans for rain gardens and bioswales to address the drainage issues while also adding beautification, and incorporated a lot of native plants. Their process included extensive community outreach and participation, which is reflective of the level of engagement in the Markham neighborhood and captured the great community interest in making the Rocky Hill Trail a great place. The trail is currently used on a daily basis by many members of the community, including youth and elderly and parents with strollers and people out recreating. And it's a real place of gathering and source of pride for the community. Next slide, please. The Rocky Hill Trail is considered a bike trail and is not included in the draft Parks and Recreation Master Plan that is currently available for public comment. Thank you for your time. I'll pass it on to Socorro.
Thank you, Maya. Next slide, please. So to conclude the presentation, the Parks and Recreation and Housing Departments will be submitting applications for the statewide Park Development and Community Revitalization Program grant funding for the Trower Park renovation and the Brown Stream projects. The application deadline is March 12th. Planning Department will continue to work with other departments and neighborhood residents on improving the neighborhood's connectivity. Planning Department will research and pursue alternate funding sources for the implementation of the Rocky Hill Trail Master Plan. And Parks and Recreation and Housing will research and pursue alternate funding sources for the implementation of Trower Park and Brown Street projects should SPP grant funding not be awarded. Next slide. So that concludes our presentation. Any questions? Well, we will be happy to take any questions or comments.
Melody, Maya, and Socorro, thank you so much. It's exciting for this neighborhood for this project as well as our community as a whole. So it's exciting, and thank you so much. It's encouraging to see the engagement on this from the city as well as that neighborhood. So it's encouraging, it's promising, and I can't wait to see the end result. At this point, we will open it up to the commission for commissioner comments or questions for the presentation. Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for this presentation. I did have a couple of questions and comments. I have been able, this is Commissioner Vasquez. I have been able to attend quite a few of the Markham Brown and Trower Park community engagement meetings, as well as the Rocky Hill Trail art meetings. And Just a little bit of feedback. The one meeting on January 9th was like kind of a double packed meeting. I stayed on for about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, which was already at that point pretty long. And I think it continued after that. And I'm just wondering, you know, when we are trying to fulfill these community meetings for the grants and such, like if there is a way to potentially separate them out. I mean, trying to maintain and engage community members for over an hour, especially via Zoom, I think is a little challenging. So that was one thought. And then another thought was, it just seems a little inconsistent, and I'm kind of concerned because this was actually raised at the Planning Commission by a community member who spoke during a presentation, that she was unaware that one of the community engagement events was happening. And so I'm just wondering how we are marketing the events. So I know that there are a lot of events happening, and I mostly just see them on Facebook. And then obviously we get the emails, but I'm wondering if and why they haven't been posted to the city's website, and if they can be added to the city's website through the calendar of events. And I think, you know I've given feedback directly to Director Walker, and so it's been helpful to kind of see some of that feedback implemented by the staff collecting email addresses during the Zoom meetings. I think that's great to start building that base of constituents. But I think it would be helpful to market across multiple platforms to ensure that the community feels like, you know, they can at least find the information, especially for folks who aren't on social media or Facebook, you know, that they're able to at least see it publicly on the city's website. And I know the city recently has been doing some marketing through that banner that runs across the front of the homepage. Like maybe that could be added as a banner that runs across, like, hey, there's a community meeting on February 22nd. So that was just a thought suggestion. Because I have attended a lot of the meetings, it seems like the park plan, the draft that's being presented tonight has changed significantly and has kind of evolved through various iterations of the plan. And I'm just kind of wondering, and maybe staff can answer this, like what happened to like the skate park elements, like why are they debated? You listed them in a debated amenities column, like why are those debated? And what happened to like a level flat grassy area in Trower Park? I think, you know, these were things that I've heard repetitively asked for at these community meetings. And I think that park, out of any of our parks, is the most troubled by landscape because it's essentially on a hill. And I feel like if we were considering this space for, say, housing development, it would be leveled and housing would be able to be built. And so, you know, and something really resonated with me last night at the city council meeting where the conversation was the special meeting was essentially around the strategic planning of the city. And, you know, there were themes and there were mentioned by our council members about park equity and prioritizing parks and recreation. And I feel like we're doing a little bit of a disservice to this park because, you know, there's definitely elements that are being asked for that I don't feel like are necessarily being incorporated. And so I'm just kind of wondering if someone can answer about, you know, some of these elements that weren't necessarily added or were taken out, I guess I should say, because they were in other drafts at other meetings.
Sure, I can address some of those questions and you might have to remind me. I'm just trying to capture all of that. So just kind of starting from the question about the marketing. So we did get the word out through various channels. We literally canvassed the neighborhood with small flyers. We did banners at 3 locations, the 3 different site locations. As you mentioned, we did do quite a bit on social media, Facebook posts, and the targeted ads to the neighborhood area. We mailed postcards to the residents, and we, as you mentioned, also the emails to participants. It is available. Information is on all the public meetings is available on the city website at cityofvacaville.com/Trower Park. And I know Brown Street has a site as well, and forgive me for not knowing that off the top of my head. So hopefully that answers your question, and I wrote down the suggestions that you made as well. And we can definitely start adding that to things like the calendar of events that's on the city page. I really like that one. In terms of some of the elements and the evolution of the park design, so they've all been drafts. We're definitely going to get to the point where we're working with some folks in planning and public works to kind of talk to us about what is truly feasible, and that's why we are working with a design consultant as well. But in terms of the flat grassy area, that's something that kind of shifted to more of an amenity that might be incorporated better at Brown Street, where it is flat and there's more space. So you can actually fit a game size, and housing staff can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's a U10 size field versus Trower Park, you know, even as with flattening out some of the hillside, at best we could get just a practice area. And so it made more sense to maybe go with the space that would allow for not only practices, but actual games to be played as well. And then the skate park elements, looking back on the various notes and in the chat, there was a lot of yes, skate park, no skate park, you know, yes, yes, no, no. So that's why it was one of those debated items. So, but, you know, as we kind of continue, if it rises, we do still plan to put out another survey, and so hopefully we can get more engagement, and it could potentially make its way back into the draft design. So we're not at a final design yet. Hopefully I answered all, if not most, if not all. Is there anything I missed?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the skate park just really, the skate elements, I guess I should say, not a skate park, just really resonated because a community member went out and actually interviewed children who were at the park at the time of the community meeting. And so I think that, hearing from the actual children that use the park, it's not always kind of, something that is accessible, and that community member made it very accessible to those of us who were in that meeting. That's like, here are the kids, they're telling you exactly what they want. And so, I think for me, it's just challenging to see that element. And also, the flat grassy area, like, I think if we can continue to push on, what can we do in that space? Like, I know, Melody, I keep hearing that we're incorporating potentially some of these elements at the Brown site, but that Brown site is, a highly trafficked area. And, I would have concerns about kids running across the street, or, it's just the location of that. So I just want to keep pushing on that, because I think that there could be a potential option for flat space in that park. The other question that I had, I thought the report in the agenda packet was really, really great. The group that put that together, I thought that the information that they provided was excellent, even in terms of data. And I'm wondering how, maybe if staff could start collecting some of that type of information too, about like, how many community meetings have there been? How many folks have been attending? None of that information was included in our staff report tonight. And yet this report that was done by an outsider group included a lot of that information and kind of like demographics of the community members who attended their 3 outreach events. The other thing that really just stood out to me in their report was about lighting. I think as I've sat in these meetings too, lighting has seemed to be one of the major concerns for community members, specifically around Trower Park and around Rocky Hill Trail, and whether or not we can do like some sort of censored lighting. So like, even though they dim later at night, but can they be censored to pop on when folks are walking through that space? Because there are community members, like if you look at the report that those students put together, the Rocky Hill Trail Vision report that was in our agenda packet, folks are walking through that between 6 and 10 p.m., which it's really, really dark. And so I didn't really hear much tonight about lighting, and so just kind of wondering where that is and how that's going to be incorporated.
I can.
Oh, go ahead, Maya.
I can speak to that for the Rocky Hill Trail. The planning department, we are very aware and really have it in our minds that the community really needs lighting on the Rocky Hill Trail as soon as possible. And Judith from the REACH Coalition applied for a Safe Routes to School grant and received a very small grant that will at least put probably one light out there in the near future. But beyond that, we need to find funding sources for lighting.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think also just one other note, and then I'm done. It would be great if maybe this report, this Rocky Hill Trail Vision Report, because I thought the staff report said that City Council adopted that and Planning Commission adopted that as a master plan. If that could be on the Rocky Hill Trail page, that would be great. That would have been probably a huge, immense help for me as a commissioner to have had that like 3 months ago or 4 months ago, whenever kind of these, the Rocky Hill Trail and Trower Park conversation started. And that's all I have. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Vasquez. And I would just say this again, these are conceptual plans. They continually get improved and changed, again, with community participation. So, it's a working plan. And obviously we're trying to meet the needs of all the community members and that neighborhood. So I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Vasquez. Commissioner Thompson?
Yes, thank you. Melody, Maya, and Socorro, thank you for the presentation. This is an outstanding project, and I look forward to see it come to fruition, and thank you for your time working on this. I only have one question or clarification. I thought, and maybe I misunderstood, I thought I heard one of you say that the Rocky Hill Trail is not included in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and if so, why is it not part of that document, and is there something that we as a commission can do to correct that? Thank you.
I would have to defer that question. I am not sure the answer to that. Maybe there would be some follow-up that we could pursue on that one if there's no one who is able to chime in.
Did I misunderstand, or is that correct? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Chair McMahon, this is Hugh Hesterman. May I clarify that?
Yes, sir. Please do.
Yes. So Commissioner Thompson, thank you for picking up on that. I don't know what it was exactly that you heard, but the draft plan for the update for the Park and Rec Master Plan is missing a number of trails that simply weren't on the update that the Public Works Department provided to our consultant. However, we are well aware of those shortcomings, and we are in the process of adding them to the map. So they will be, the Rocky Trail included, will be in the Park and Rec Master Plan once it is finalized.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification, Hugh. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Thompson. Any further questions, sir? I see none. We'll move on to Commissioner Leonard.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I just want to echo great presentation. It's very exciting to see the plan flex and change as we're incorporating public input. And I appreciate the ramped up effort of staff and the extensive efforts and diverse efforts for communication to engage people in this project. It's very exciting to see all that come together. So great job on that. I recognize as a commissioner that often funding for these projects are one-time funds, and things like splash pads, amenities, lighting, splash pads have long-term cost implications that we have to budget for. And so sometimes we're faced with where we want all kinds of great amenities. We have to be realistic and prudent with taxpayer dollars. So I do have a handle on that. I'm wondering though, do we have data about where children are living? There's a splash pad that's a possibility or an idea that's been referenced with the Nelson pad. Do we have data of where children are really living in proximity to these parks that might inform the decision that maybe if we can't afford 2 splash pads, one is closer to more children that might use it than another? And my second part of that question, if we do have that data, is there flexibility in funding and the projects to possibly, kind of almost exchange amenities in one park and another based on data? Can anyone speak to that?
Commissioner Leonard, this is Director Walker. I'm not aware of us having data specific to the number of children living in specific areas, although I will say I don't think that is, impossible information to get our hands on. And yes, with regard to, some of these amenities, some require more maintenance in the long term than others. And we can certainly look into, the number of children in various areas and who would use, the parks and various amenities. So as you mentioned, placing the proper amenities in, for example, with Green Tree, if a park is being developed out there and we know that there's a large senior population out there, then we would likely look at, perhaps pickleball courts, because we know that is a popular sport with seniors. So yeah, we can certainly look at that, and those things that are obvious to us, we take into consideration. But again, it would be interesting to take a look at the various neighborhoods and the number of children.
Thank you, Director Walker. It just may help us kind of form decisions if it comes down to having to make some tough choices based on cost restraints. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, ma'am. Any further commissioner comments or questions? I see no further comments from the commission. I will close commissioner comments. At this point, I will open it up for public comment. Madam Secretary, I see one hand raised from the public.
Okay, Mr. Lowther, I will open your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hi. I'm sorry, I like to talk a little earlier because I thank Ms. Vasquez, because I would like to see these meetings broke up for each one of the parks, because I'm a commuter and I get up real early in the morning, and 3:30 comes early for me. And to sit here for an hour and a half, 2 hours in these meetings is really a long time before I can get to bed. But I want to talk about Brown Street before I have to go to bed tonight. The neighborhood here, we want a park. We don't want buildings put over here or a boys and girls club that is not really going to be utilized. They already have 11 facilities around town, and most of the kids in our neighborhood here are undocumented kids, and their parents don't know how to sign up for that or won't sign up for it because they don't want to put their name down on anything. And we live in a flood zone here. There's a chance the buildings could flood. I've lived here for 17 years and flooded already once in this neighborhood. And they're also in the flight path to the airport. Do you really want to put kids in a building in a flight path to the airport? I think that needs to be considered. Ms. Vasquez made a good, said something earlier good about the high traffic. We just had an accident last week here across the street from my house. Somebody flying down the street, someone made a left-hand turn and hit the back of the truck and sent it up on the car parked alongside the road. And if they were doing 25 miles an hour, that truck wouldn't have flew up on top of a car parked alongside the road. There's a big traffic issue here with the speeders that really needs to be addressed, especially if you got the kids trying to cross the street to go to the park. And just want to reiterate before I say this, all I want to say is about the buildings. I've talked to my neighbors and we all agree that we don't want the buildings. We want a park for the kids to play. A barbecue for the people in the neighborhood can come have a birthday party for their kids. Soccer field, basketball court, not a building that the kids are going to be in playing on their computers. We want them out in the fields playing and being kids. The skateboard park, yeah, we're fine with that. I just want a place where the kids can play outside and not be trapped in a building. The buildings are not what we wanted when we talked to the mayor. The mayor said we would get a park out here, a place for the kids to play. And that's all I got to say. And I thank you guys for your time tonight.
Sir, thank you very much for your comments. Next caller, ma'am.
Ian, I'll open your mic.
Hi, Ian. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Hi, thank you. My condolences to the tragic experience the previous caller had. That's rough, man. I'm sorry. But I do wholeheartedly agree with the previous caller's sense of necessity for, you know, a nice park, something that's natural, outdoorsy, and healthy for growing children. It's important aspect of life, and especially if the city could progress as the progressive and electric city that it is known for across this country, the electric city of Vacaville. Has there ever been consideration or speak on renovating parks or creating new public parks that can double as like kinetic energy capacitors that could self-sustain the park and or provide backup capacity for neighboring grids? And if it has been or hasn't been considered, what would the cost be speculatively? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate it. Next caller, ma'am.
Phone number ending in 614. I'll open your mic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hi, yeah, this is Amber Robitaille. I am calling about the Brown Street project. So I thank the staff for all the time that they're taking with this. I did want to bring up one thing. I saw that there was a lot of changes obviously made to the Trower Park area, and, you know, with community input and things like that. And we kind of, you know, I was on that last meeting, and people were engaging, and as the engagement was happening, you know, things were getting changed and moved around and, you know, taken away and put in, and with the different amenities and things like that. And when we got to Brown Street, you know, it was you know, quite a while into the meeting, and we got to Brown Street. I think that that maybe that same the same effort could have been put in for Brown Street, where we actively were taking things and putting things away that we wanted. And it was clear that the majority of us had said, you know, I live directly across the street from the site. So it does directly affect my life and my neighbors' lives. And with having the buildings there, I understand that, you know, there was some agreements made with the city, and its CDBG funds has to be used a certain way. I understand that, but at the same time, you know, I had asked the question at the previous meeting about why the housing department was over this project and not the Parks and Recreation department, which is a question I never got answered. And so I kind of feel like because the housing department took this over, that the park is kind of on the back burner of this project. Like it's not the priority. And with the housing department element and things like that. And we asked, very pointed questions about, there's a classroom that's supposed to be going over there. And, what is the classroom entailed? And it just seemed very vague. This neighborhood really has some trust issues, not necessarily with the city, but with some hands we've been dealt with county issues and things like that. So we really need full transparency. And so by just saying a classroom for community meetings or a classroom for community things, like we don't know what that is. We want to know exactly what things are being used for there. And like I said, I think that the housing department taking this over versus the Parks and Recreation department really is at a disadvantage for us when we're really wanting to see, a park, some outdoor elements over there and things like that. There's a huge traffic issue, and we talked about, the traffic not spilling onto Brown Street and being rerouted to East Monte Vista through way of the county building's parking lot. And that has been brought up in, several different forums. And the county wasn't opposed to something like that either for projects in the past as well. So it's just very dangerous. You can hardly, get out of your driveway or get down the street with backups. And right now school isn't going on due to COVID. But when, school is, it's starting to be in session or coming out, the traffic is horrendous here. And I know previous callers, Brett said about the traffic and the speeders. We constantly deal with either, if it's not backed up, somebody's flying down the street at 40 or 50 miles an hour and could potentially hit a child, which is terrible, or an adult. And when it's backed up, you can't get anywhere. It's just totally at a standstill with the two lanes here. So I just think that really I would have liked to see over a couple weeks that a revision be made to that map showing what we were saying. If the buildings have to be there, then please put them in the back of the site. So I would have liked to see that revision be made tonight to address to your commission. So I am kind of disappointed in seeing that. And I just really want to feel like we're being heard. So maybe splitting up the two sessions of Trower Park and the Brown Street would be nice. Everybody could still get on it, but it could be more, more pointed to what the project is and what we want to see. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amber. Your comments are noted, and I do believe some of that was addressed in our staff report. So perhaps someone from the staff can reach out to you in the near future here regarding some of your questions. So I appreciate the call, Amber. Next caller, Madam Secretary.
Okay. Anna, I will unmute you.
Hi, Anna, are you there? Tracy, is she still there?
She left, Chair.
Okay. Are there any other callers from the public, ma'am?
There are none.
Okay, then we will close public comment for this item. Are there any further? Oh, I see. Let's go back real quick. Let's make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. It looks like we have one more person from the public, Madam Secretary.
Right. Okay, Jackson, I will unmute you. Hello. Jackson, I'm sorry, I opened your mic, so you still have to unmute yourself. I believe you can press *6.
Hi, Jackson, are you there? Madam Secretary, do you want to go to the next caller, ma'am?
Okay.
Hopefully we can get Jackson back on the line. And it looks like Anna's back as well.
Okay. So let me see. Anna, I'll go ahead and open your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Anna. We can hear you, ma'am.
Sorry about that earlier. My name is Anna Eaton. I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, and I appreciate the prior callers and their concerns and comments. I just wanted to reach out and let them know that I will be in touch with them soon. We would like to have a meeting with the neighborhood there just so that we can discuss what the intention is. It sounds like there's a lot of misconceptions about Boys and Girls Club and what we do. I mean, right now we're too full and we cannot accept any more children, especially with the precaution protocols due to COVID. But we've been serving as distance learning hubs since the schools have been closed. I think that it's really important that we address space issues, and this is one of our reasons. But more importantly, I really do want to talk to the neighbors there. So just understand and know that I hear you, and we will be coming to you soon to kind of share what's going on and to also gather your input and feedback as well. So that's just all I wanted to say tonight. Thank you.
Anna, thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate what you do for our youth out there. Thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate it.
Next caller, please.
Okay, Jackson, did you want to try again?
Hi, Jackson, can you hear me? Yeah, unfortunately, for some reason, we're unable to hear him, Madam Secretary.
Okay. Lorraine, I'll open your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Lorraine, we can hear you. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody tonight. I wanted to discuss the art project, also the area of Trower Park. On the area of the art project, I was thinking that, you know, maybe having rotating up an area where we have kind of like art projects from people in the surrounding area that we could showcase through maybe plexiglass or something like that, different pieces of art from neighborhood, you know, from this area of different people that are artists as another part of it to showcase local talent. Also in Trower Park, or even another park in Brown Street, about an area for, you know, music, for audiences, for reading, for, you know, art, for whatever, you know. I think that's a much needed situation. And we have areas that can be, like our area is hilly, right? We can dig out a piece of that and it could be a perfect amphitheater in the back. It wouldn't take that much. Or the area over here by where they want to install the art piece. That's a perfect area for a skate park. I mean, you guys can spread these things out. That's just my thought. Thank you very much.
Lorraine, thank you for your comment, ma'am. And Madam Secretary, next caller, please.
If we can try Jackson again, I see that I can see his phone.
Hello?
Sounding. There you go.
Hello, thank you. Yeah. Yes, hi, thank you. So, hey, I am curious about a couple different things and have comments in regards on Brown. I am directly across on Brown, a couple doors down from Brett and Amber. Been involved with what's been going on from the tiny sheds up until now. Am curious in regards to property values. If there is buildings built in the Brown area, how will that affect property values? The other thing is the speed that's going on Brown Street. There's cars that are constantly flying. We do call PD, but they take the approach of what's the vehicle description, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see here. I was also curious to why Trower seems to be getting preference over parks, et cetera. I think a lot of us on Brown really question the motive behind putting a building in the corner or even in the lot itself. We're kind of, I guess, leery about how it will be used. I think it sounds like there's a question of transparency in the sense of what's really going to go on with those buildings. I mean, it's easy to say that we're going to do classrooms and recs, recreation, great crafts and stuff like that, but it just kind of seems that there is just kind of an ulterior motive to what's happening. So, but once again, still curious to why Trower is getting preference over a park, and on Brown, that's not going to happen because there's also Callan too. Callan has nowhere to go. The people that are on the west side of Monte Vista and those who are on the east side. So thank you.
Jackson, thank you very much for the call. And you know, I think as a commission and a city, we try to ensure that everybody gets an equal opportunity with parks. So we're always continually improving those. So I appreciate your comments, sir, very much. So.
One last thing. Since this has been Trower and Brown has been talked about and so forth, we have not had one person from the city, any departments or whatnot, knock on my door. The only people that have knocked on my door regarding the issues that's going on with Brown Street has been my neighbors. So when people are saying that they get community input, I'm curious exactly where they're getting that from. Is it one specific building? But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, your comments have been noted. Thank you, sir. Next caller, please.
Bradley, I'll open your mic.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of piggyback off the previous caller who was talking about the amphitheater. I feel like that would be a fantastic idea. And then also, I wanted to bring up the fact that I just wanted to ask how much of this park is going to be, how much of the energy in this park is going to be from like renewable energy sources, such as like solar panels? Are we going to be putting solar panels in the park to power all of like the lights and that sort of thing? And then the same with the Boys and Girls Club. Are we going to be putting solar panels on those as well? And can we also look to our other parks and see about retrofitting renewable energy into them? Just like going back and retrofitting all of them to try to cut back on energy costs for the city. That'll be it.
Thank you very much. I know in the staff reports, there were solar LED lights, which is pretty impressive. And I absolutely agree with you. We should look at every option. So thank you for that, sir. Next caller, please.
Okay, call in user number 3. I'll open your mic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. 3 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm Gayleen Robitel, and I own a property on Brown Street directly across from the proposed site. And if I remember correctly, when I was looking at the diagram that was presented, I thought I saw driveways with 2 arrows going in and 2 arrows coming out. And as everyone has said, you know, Brown Street has a horrific traffic issue with the amount of cars that travel the street and the speed. But if you have 2 driveways with, you know, the traffic's coming out of those driveways onto Brown Street, you're going to have an issue whether, and hopefully it's not proposed that those cars can turn left out of that area onto Brown Street, because virtually, number one, it's never going to happen, or number 2, we're just going to have continual wrecks in front of our homes there. And even if you turn right, if you get to the curve by just before the county corporation yard, when there's cars parked on both sides of the streets, it's very narrow. So if you even have all the traffic from that side turn right even, it's going to be an issue. It's tight down there at that curve. And then after that, where do they turn if they're actually just trying to go back to Monte Vista? So they're going to go down Hazel, which is, again, very narrow, or they're going to have to go all the way down to Markham and turn and go through Markham, which Markham Avenue has its own issues. So I'm just curious about, number one, the amount of cars and visitors to the site, you know, because the visitors to the site is going to dictate how many cars go onto the street. And really coming out of that site, that's going to be an issue. And, you know, there's enough problems on the street with traffic. So that's my one comment, is that really has to be looked at carefully when you start talking about the use of that site, because the amount of cars going there is really going to be an issue for Brown Street. And I don't really know how you're going to deal with that, because if they go down towards Hazel, it's a problem. If they turn left across traffic on Brown Street, it's a problem, even if they can get out. So that's my one comment. I like the idea of a park. Parks, we need, as long as the parks are controlled, because we don't want to see our parks turn into an area where people are just hanging out, or maybe, up to things that they shouldn't be doing there. So, my comment about that is, is someone going to be overseeing the park, or is it going to be a controlled park, or what? But definitely the kids need something to do on Brown Street, someplace to go and recreate, and just getting there safely is a concern. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, and landscaping, as I think was brought up before. Landscaping is going to be a big consideration for that area. What type of trees are used, and what type of, if you're going to have bushes or not bushes, that's going to be an issue there, and the residents can really help you out with why. So I hope you do more outreach to the residents that live there, and I appreciate what you're doing to help Brown Street. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for the call, ma'am. Madam Secretary, are there any other callers from the public, ma'am?
I see no more hands, Chair.
Okay, very good. We will close public comment, and I'd like to bring it back to the commission. Does the commission have any further comments or questions regarding 9A? Okay, I see no further comments from the commission. Melody, Maya, and Socorro. Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I for some reason, I keep missing you, Commissioner Vasquez. I apologize. Go ahead, ma'am.
We're not at the point where we just assume that I have a comment.
No, not at all. I apologize, ma'am.
No, sorry. I just listening to all the feedback about speed and traffic in the area. I did see on page 15 of the agenda packet a diagram that includes quote unquote network improvements. And there's like notations to add a crosswalk. And I'm just wondering how far that is into development, and is there consideration for those crosswalk areas to be censored, like similar to like the ones I'm thinking of are like on Monte Vista by Vaca High, and on North Alamo, where they're censored, there's flashing lights, and then there's sensors on the street. And is that a possibility to include here? And I guess just in general, I think I also have safety concerns about kids crossing Brown Street to go to this building and this location, but is there a possibility for traffic studies of the area, and or maybe like speed bumps to slow folks down? So just some closing thoughts as I was listening to the public comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment, ma'am. And any other further comments or questions from the commission? Okay, I see no other hands. Commissioner Vasquez, I want to make sure I don't miss you. I see your hand still up, ma'am. It's down now. I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, I will just kindly remind everyone, this is a working draft plan. It's conceptual. So all of the public's comments, as well as the commission's, those all go into consideration in order to make this park and this area the best it can be for the residents of that area, as well as the town. So I appreciate it. Melody, Maya, and Socorro, thank you so much for the presentation. We appreciate everything you're doing out there. Thank you. Director Walker, if you would, we are at 9B, please.
Sure. Thank you, Chair McMahon. In November 2010, the City Council approved the Jepson Parkway Public Art Project. Recently, concerns have been expressed related to the height of the adjacent trees and the lack of visibility of the art itself. So I'm going to turn this over again to Recreation Manager Melody Ocampo, and she will present this item.
Good evening again, everyone.
As Director Walker mentioned, the following presentation is an update to the Jepson Parkway Gateway Enhancement Project. This is a project that is from 2010, and we are specifically going to be speaking about the art component and the trees that are blocking the public from viewing that as intended. Next slide, please. So what you see here is the council-approved design for the entrance to Leisuretown Road off I-80 heading southbound. And as you can see, there is a beautiful flower sculpture that is designed to sit just behind some small ornamental trees. Next slide. Unfortunately, this is the current view today when you are driving towards this median. And the trees that were planted have just continued to grow. They're really just flourishing. They've gone beyond the intended height. And they unfortunately block the view of the artwork to oncoming traffic and limiting our ability, the public's ability to enjoy the beautiful artwork that is there. Next slide. So after years of attempting to prune the trees to allow for visibility, the Arts Advisory Commission, working with staff from Parks and Recreation, Public Works, and Community Development, are recommending that the trees be replaced with the Grevillea plant that you see pictured here. This will allow for visibility of the art sculpture. There's a wide variety of Grevillea plants, but Public Works would be getting one that would allow for the plant vegetation to stay low enough and allow visibility of the art sculpture. And next slide. At this time, I will take any questions.
Thank you very much for that, Melody. We appreciate it. Any comments or questions for Melody from the commission? Commissioner Bruman. Commissioner Bruin, can you hear me, sir? I think you need to unmute.
Yeah, I was talking to myself again. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Hey, Melanie. Commissioner Bruman here. Regarding the trees that are blocking the art sculpture, now using those trees, are we going to use those trees somewhere else other than just cutting them down?
You know, unfortunately, we did talk to Public Works about that, and unfortunately, at the phase that they're at, they cannot be reused. So that was definitely something that we were bummed about. We had attempted that, but just not a possibility with that particular tree at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Any further questions from the commission? Okay, I see no hands. We will open it up for the public regarding this item 9B, Jepson Parkway Public Art Update. Anyone from the public want to speak on this agenda item? Madam Secretary?
Lorraine, I'll open your mic.
I was wondering if maybe we could put some kind of different, like exactly what you guys were just saying before I actually heard it, was about maybe some kind of floral that is maybe succulents that are lower that could possibly see all the wonderful work. So I think it was already covered.
Thank you very much. Is that any other comments, ma'am?
No, not at this time for that. Oh, I did have one other thing that was from the previous thing though.
Yes, ma'am, but we're unfortunately we're past that. So, you know, I would advise you if you've got a question on that agenda item, if you could maybe contact staff tomorrow, that would be helpful.
So who would I contact?
Go ahead and Melody Ocampo.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Okay, I see any further hands for from the public, Madam Secretary?
I see no more hands, Chair.
Okay, we will close public comment and I'll bring it back to the commission. Any further commissioner comments regarding the public art? I see none. Melody, thank you so much. You've been a busy lady this evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Agenda item 10, committee reports. We are at 10A, Youth Sports Advisory Team. Commissioner Thompson.
Yes, thank you. The Youth Sports Advisory Team met on January 21st, and all of the leagues were present except for the Vacaville Bengals Football League. Reggie did a great job updating all of the leagues on contract extensions, and there was a slight delay, but I believe those have gone out via electronic signature this week for those extensions. The Vacaville American and Vacaville Central Little Leagues confirmed a merger, and they will now be referenced as Vacaville American Little League. And they are working with city staff on field allocations and with the other leagues to kind of decide where their home is going to be moving. They're hoping to move from Keating Park, allowing Pony to utilize Keating Park or more of Keating Park, and move over to Centennial Park. And then Vacaville National will retain at Arlington, but that's staff and field allocations and numbers of registered players for them to work out. But that is what the leagues are hoping to look forward to. So I believe they have a meeting this week to work on that. And then, of course, there were some COVID-19 updates and a lot of discussion about this meeting was prior to the removal of the regional shutdown and return to the purple tier. But in anticipation of that, there was lots of discussion about purple tier and what is permissible and what is not permissible. Several of the little leagues and Bobby Sox, the baseball softball leagues, were hoping to put together a protocol where they could at least get their tryouts conducted while still under the purple tier. Tryouts are conducted single player at a time, generally with a great ability to space out players who are waiting to do their individual tryouts. So they were working on those protocols, and I believe they also have a meeting with Reggie city staff this week. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's tomorrow night, to present those protocols and hopefully come up with a solution for those leagues to move forward in anticipation of a near move to the red tier. And I believe that covers everything. Reggie, did I miss anything?
I'm sorry, talking to myself. Thanks, Commissioner Thompson. The only thing that I would add is that we did decide to meet monthly versus every other month at this meeting due to just to stay on top of the outdoor recreation protocols because they're changing constantly. So we want to make sure that we keep in touch with the leagues and that if anything changes, we can, pivot at a moment's notice. So we will be meeting monthly, which means we will be meeting next Thursday, the 11th, will be our next YSTAT meeting. And we did have one league submit protocols to conduct conditioning, tryouts / conditioning, and that did get approved, but we will be meeting with those leagues tomorrow night. But that was about it. Good job. Thank you, Commissioner Thompson.
Fantastic. Thank you for filling in my gaps. Thank you, Reggie. Appreciate it.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for that. It sounds like things are moving along, and I think it's fair to say we hope to get all of our youth out on those fields here in the near future. So we appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
10B, Arts Advisory Committee, Commissioner Vasquez.
Hi, everyone. Good night. Good evening. The updates from Arts Advisory Committee. So the committee met on January 13th. They were provided updates on the Rocky Hill Trail art public grant, and essentially the update being that the artist received feedback from the community on her drafts and that she'll be making new drafts and presenting to the community on that February 22nd meeting to show those. They are still in the process. The committee has some members working with staff that are still in the process of making amendments to the art and public places policy. So that's ongoing. A couple members are also working with staff on the restoration of a broken art piece, which are a medallion sculpture by Sam Bitters. So that's still to be continued. They're still doing some investigation on that. And then Melody provided some updates to the committee about the Jepson Gateway sculptures, which was presented tonight. So same information. And the committee also received an update on the pinball sculpture, which is at Andrews Park. The replacement sphere was ordered, and they're hoping to install that as soon as it's received and weather dependent. And she also mentioned that we may hold a special arts advisory committee after that second public meeting regarding the Rocky Hill Trail public arts grant. And so that's to be determined, but officially the next meeting will be April 14th. And those agendas can be found online on the City of Vacaville agendas page. And that's all I got. Thanks, everyone.
Mr. Vasquez, thank you very much for your work with our Arts Advisory Committee. We appreciate it, man. We are at 10C, the Play for All Committee. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that Commissioner Lujan is present this evening. Hopefully I'm not putting this person on the spot, but Hugh Hesterman, I know there's been a lot of good stuff happening out there in the recent past here. Would you like to address anything with Play for All Park now, or I see you're next on the agenda. Would you like to address it under your item, sir? Or would you like to talk about it now?
Whichever is your pleasure, Chair McMahon.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's just close that. So we will close committee reports and we will move on to item number 11, reports of park planner. Hugh Hesterman, sir, you're up.
All righty, thank you. So my report has changed from only 2 items to 3 items. I will address the Play for All Park first. Yes, in spite of shortages of concrete and other materials, the volunteers who have been doing all the underground work, the paving, the concrete work and everything, they have basically gotten the majority of the concrete work completed. They got the first lift of the AC paving down, which is a very good thing before all the rain, so that it protects the surface. And that's a tremendous amount of investment that has already been completed out there. And we should probably make a special effort to thank those companies and the volunteers that have made that happen. So it's coming along very nicely. There is, I think there was a article in the Vacaville Reporter yesterday where Tom Filippi pretty much provided all that background information about the current status. And if you want any more details on that, I would encourage you to look up that reporter article. The second thing is the Park and Rec Master Plan. I just wanted to draw your attention again to the fact that we have a workshop with the commission coming up this Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. And that'll be a very important stage because it'll be the first time that you all, well, hopefully you've already seen the document itself, but the first time it'll be discussed in a public forum. Let me emphasize that it is very much a draft at this point. I'm very aware of a lot of things that still need to be changed and upgraded and questions answered. But we look forward to hearing from all of you and members of the public as to the overall look, what all was included in there, and most importantly, how we've incorporated the public's comments into a plan of action for the next 20 or so years. So just keeping in context with that, if that workshop proceeds as we hope it will on this coming Saturday at 9 o'clock, then the same presentation will be given to the Planning Commission at their regular meeting on February 16th. That will not be a workshop. It'll be just a presentation. Of course, they'll be able to ask questions also. And then it'll come back to this Park and Recreation Committee on March 3rd. We hope that'll be a much further refined edition of the draft document, and that if everybody finds it acceptable that we would ask for the commission's approval on that document. So this has been, we're getting near the culmination of many years of work, starting as far back as 2013, when we first did a needs assessment, recreational needs assessment, in anticipation of the general plan update, which was done in 2000 or completed in 2015. And one of the directions from that general plan update was that the Park and Rec master plan also be updated. And as you all, I'm sure, are very aware, we very much need that document. And then finally, I have an update for to share. Hopefully Tracy can bring up the photos I provided her of the status update on the Dreamers Park over at Farmstead. What you see on the screen is a photo of the three more homes that are at the framing stage. Behind these three are three that were nearing completion. You can see they're getting the tiles on the roof. And so that means there's now a total of 10 homes out of 130 that will ultimately be built in the Farmstead subdivision. Next slide, please, Tracy. This is just a photo of the park itself. Most of the concrete work and underground work is done. And next slide, please, Tracy. Unfortunately, the series winds that we had just a week ago broke off the top of this redwood tree, one of the trees that we had tried to or we were intending to save at this park, but now I'm not so sure that it is worth saving anymore. Next slide, please, Tracy. And here's just two more slides showing the pathways and some of the fine grading that's been done at the site. One more slide. Next slide, please.
That's it, Hugh.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Was that four? I'm sorry. I went through fast. So that concludes my my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions or comments for Hugh Hesterman from the commission? Hugh, I see no hands this evening.
Thank you very much, Chair McMahon.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Agenda item 12, reports of Recreation Manager Reggie Hubbard.
Thank you, Commission Chair. I just have a few quick things. Hopefully Tracy can pull those up. Not sure what. Okay, there you go. So this is just the update on the warming center. Just some numbers to share. We've had 162 individuals served at the center so far, 782 sheltered beds, bed nights, I should say, roughly 2,400 meals served, and 491 showers provided at the shelter to date. The Old House does a good job of updating us on the information. They will be sending, they will be going to the council next week, extending the time that the shelter will be at the Georgie Duke Center. So it was scheduled to end at the end of this month. I think we're going to go through April, if I'm not mistaken. But I need to double check that. I thought March, but I think they want to propose that we go through April with the warming shelter. So this is just the monthly report that they provide us, provide city staff. Next program, Tracy. No. Next. Keep going. No. There's another, two more slides, not on the warming shelter. There should be a Vacaville, and there should be the take and make.
Sorry, Reggie, give me 1 second.
While she's looking for those slides, I will say I'm just want to give kudos to our staff who have been very creative in their virtual programming and just making sure that the kids, even though they're virtual learning, are staying engaged even with recreational programs. So they've done a really good job of just making sure kids, we still get outside, social distance, and get some exercise and some form of recreation during this tough time. So I just want to commend them. Many of the programs that they've been putting on, they've been doing an excellent job. So if Tracy can't find this, I'll just tell you, We have our annual Vacacon event, which, as you're aware, when we did the Vacacon event, when we coordinated it 2 years ago, we had about 2,000 people. We did it last year. We coordinated our Vacacon event last year, and it was right before the pandemic hit. So it was really scaled down, but it still was a nice event. Oh, here it is. This year, we're making it virtual because last year we did it. It was like you said, right before the pandemic hit. We're going to do virtual guest speakers, virtual panelists, and so on and so forth. I know it's a ways out. It's March 27th from 1 to 4, but I just wanted to get this on the commission's calendar. Typically, we will ask commissioners to participate by being judges and things like that. So just put it on your calendar, be on the lookout for staff to reaching out to you to maybe participate in this event. Once again, Saturday, March 27th from 1 to 4, and it will be virtual this year. Next one, Tracy. And this is our Valentine's Take and Make. This is, the staff have put together preschool craft kits for our little preschoolers. Like I said, they do a good job of just making sure that kids stay engaged, that they have things even at home to do. And of course, the Valentine theme, you can pre-purchase these craft kits, and then you can pick them up before February 10th. They go for $10. There's just items in there that they can make their parents cards, Valentine gifts, and so on and so forth. And like I said, staff's just done a really great job of trying to keep the kids engaged during this tough time. So anyway, go out and you have a preschooler, you can purchase your Valentine's Take and Make and have a great time at home with it. And that was my last flyer, I think. Yes, and I can answer any questions at this time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Reggie. And I agree, staff does an amazing job, and so do you, sir. We appreciate everything you and the staff does for our community and our city. Any questions for Reggie Hubbard from the commission? Okay, I see no hands. Reggie, thank you so much, sir. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Agenda item 13, reports of Director Carrie Walker.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Well, I was going to share some information on the Park and Rec Master Plan, but I think our park planner pretty much covered it all. So the only other thing I really wanted to share with the commission was that last night I had the opportunity to listen in to the City Council's strategic planning session, and it's very exciting. And as we move forward and that's finalized, and we were able to kind of hear and see what the council's priorities are. And so that will lead us and direct us in terms of our priorities and our future work plans. So that's very exciting. And I think that is all I have to share this evening.
Director Walker, thank you very much. We appreciate everything you do for the department, ma'am. We are now at item number 14, reports of commission. And we will start at the top, Commissioner Bruman.
Oh, nothing to report. I just want to thank the city staff for their hard work, and hopefully we get back to all the people that called in with comments. And I know it's a hard thing to be doing, but it gives trials and tribulations, but I thank you all for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Leonard.
I don't have anything to report, but I will echo Commissioner Berumen's sentiments. It's just so helpful when people in the community are willing to call in and share their perspectives and participate in the public events so that our parks and programs really are a reflection of the community that they're serving. So I just wanted to thank staff and community members for their role in shaping our parks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Commissioner Thompson.
I have nothing to report. I also want to thank staff for all their continued hard work. It makes this community a pleasure to live and work in. I wish everyone to continued health and safety.
Thank you very much, sir. Commissioner Vasquez.
I just wanted to give a quick update. I was able to attend the Trower Park meeting on January 9th, but not able to attend the January 20th meeting. But just really wanted to give, you know, Melody some acknowledgements and praise because she's holding it down for this specific project, and she's taking in a lot of information from the community and from myself as a commissioner, but also just the commission in general. I also listened to the special meeting last night of City Council, and they held a whole session on their strategic plan. And I was actually, it made me think about our workshop that we're holding for Saturday, and just wondering if there's anything that we can do in advance to prepare for that, since it sounds like there were some struggles during City Council holding the meeting via Zoom, which is probably typically a meeting that they don't normally hold in Zoom. And it sounds like it's a lot more interactive and hands-on when it is in person. So just wondering if there's anything that we could do in advance, whether it's having documents printed. I know they were using some sort of survey that they were all kind of struggling with. So anything that we can do in advance of that for Saturday, I think would be helpful, since we saw, you know, the public meeting yesterday have some challenges with that. And then my other thought and question is, we are moving into budget season, and I know last budget season or last year, when information was being presented to us, it was after the fact. And so after the fact, meaning after it was presented to City Council, and information was already kind of out of date and or already approved by council. And so just wondering if we're able to get, or, you know, I know I asked for this last year, if we're able to get presentations done about upcoming budget strategy prior to it going to council, just so we can give any feedback or guidance, advice on that process. And those are my suggestions. And thanks, everyone. Hope everyone's doing good in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, ma'am. Vice Chair Rucker.
Hello. I do have some reports. So, yeah, on January 25th, I received an email from a Vacaville resident, Hillary Harris. Hillary and her husband, Rich, they have a special needs daughter, and she was essentially asking about the feasibility of accessible swings in more parks throughout Vacaville. Now, she mentioned that her and her family, they often travel to Winters to attend a park up there that has some accessible swings. I know that park, it's a great park, but as the commissioner, you know, I can't help but feel a little saddened that Vacaville residents feel the need that they have to travel out of town to feel included in parks. Now, Hillary, she asked her community of a lot of special needs parents to email me and vocalize their support of more accessible swings in town. And I heard a number of stories from special needs families and just allies in general, speaking on the importance of creating inclusive parks for all families. Now, oftentimes, special needs families are forced to make tough decisions surrounding play dates and attending parties because it's rare, honestly, that whole families can be included in the fun. And some of these stories, honestly, really just broke my heart. So I received about 50 emails within a week from a number of Vacaville residents, all of whom were requesting more accessible parks or more accessible swings and features within our parks. You know, and unfortunately, I do know all too well what it's like to walk into a space and feel unwelcome. And special needs families in Vacaville really should have the ability to walk or just make a short drive to a neighborhood park and enjoy a beautiful day just like anybody else, no different than any of their neighbors. So I just want to give a shout out to Hugh. So thank you for your response to the email. I sent it over to Carrie and Reggie and Hugh, and Hugh got back, I think it was yesterday, with just a great response. You know, so thank you for that. Ultimately, my hope is that between parks and public works, we can really look at the actual measurements of the swings in neighborhood parks and really identify where we could place additional accessible swings. I know there are a couple, I think there were 2, but we have a number of parks, and I know some of these families were really hoping that we could get them in more of our neighborhood parks, just so they are certainly more accessible. And also, if possible, you know, and if the commission agreed, you know, I would love for accessibility in parks and really anything ADA related to be agendized for a future meeting. Ultimately, I think it would be great for this body to do everything in its power to support special needs families throughout Vacaville and really just eliminate any kind of barriers that prevent families from being included in our parks. So that was my report. So thank you, Park. And, I would definitely be in touch because I would love to see us talk about this more in the future.
Chair Eckert, thank you so much for that. We appreciate that very much, and I agree with you. Everybody should have a fair opportunity to visit our parks. And I would as well like to see this on a future agenda. So if we can make that happen, I would definitely like to see that in the near future as we progress with our master plans. So thank you very much, Vice Chair Rutger.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And myself, I have nothing to report other than, again, I just want to say thank you to the staff and to Director Walker and also to our commissioners. I know you do a lot of work out there. It's obvious and sometimes it goes unseen and unnoticed. But I know that you're working hard for the community and for this department and it shows, and we actually appreciate it very much. So thank you, everyone. But that's it. We are at item number 15, adjournment. I would also like to remind the public as well that we have a special meeting scheduled for Saturday, February the 6th, 2021 at 9 a.m. for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Workshop. It will be a Zoom meeting as well. And we, again, encourage the public to be involved with that as we make a road plan into the future regarding our parks here in Vacaville. So hopefully you can join us for that. Until then, we will adjourn until Saturday, February 6th, 2021. Good night, Vacaville.